Okay, so we're now going to look at how to create a repeating invoice. So in Xero, again, just to explain, a repeating invoice is where you are invoicing a customer on a regular basis and the amount doesn't change. So for example, in our practice, we have clients that are on a retainer and their billing does not change on a monthly basis. So we have set them up as a repeating invoice. So what that means is that Xero will create the invoice for us on a specified date. And depending on whether we have said it must be approved and sent out for sending, it will do it or it will put it as a draft. So I'm going to just show you the different features. But what this means is that it allows you to save some time. Instead of going and creating the same invoice every month for a customer, you can now set it as a repeating invoice. So if you look here currently in my sales or in my invoices view, I don't have anything under repeating. I've just got the two that are waiting payment, which is two invoices that I've created. Okay. So I'm going to click under the little drop down arrow and I'm going to say new repeating invoice. So it's going to open up a slightly different view. So because you're creating a repeating invoice, Xero needs to know certain things. So they want to know how often must you repeat this transaction. So I want it once a month. So for now, we're going to choose once a month. And it's defaulting to today's date because this is the date I am creating it. I can put in my due date. So for now, I'm going to put in my due date as 3 days. And then I'm going to click here after the invoice date. So I basically want this invoice to be paid 3 days after the invoice date. And then my end date, you don't have to put it in. If you do put an end date in, then you won't have a repeating invoice after that specific date. So for our purposes, I'm going to set this end date as the 31st of December. So maybe I just have a 3-month agreement or 4-month agreement with this client. So I'm going to come back to these three options just now to explain what they mean. So then we have to tell Xero who do we invoice it to. So if I click there and I just typed A, and you can see it's bringing up all of my contacts that I have in here. So for now, I'm going to go ABC Trading. And then under reference, so when we did the normal standalone invoice, I said reference is actually not that relevant, right? But when you are doing a repeating invoice, the reference is actually quite nice because it puts in a reference on each specific invoice. So you can see the moment I clicked, so I'm going to come out of there. The moment I click in this box, it brings up this link which says insert placeholder. So if I click on it, you can see that it's now giving me options. Do I want it to be a week, a month, a year, week with a year, or month with a year, right? So we normally just set it to the month. What that means is that it's gonna, if your invoice is being raised in October, it's going to put your reference as October. If your invoice, then in the next month, when your invoice runs on the 1st of November, it will change the placeholder to November itself, right? Because we're selecting the month. So I'm going to choose month. And then I have to now fill out this part, which is like a normal invoicing, right? So I'm going to go, what is my item? So for now, I'm going to set this up as a training invoice, right? So you can see it's training. And if I want to add on the description, I could go here and I'm going to say training for October to December 2025, right? So it's October, November, December. So it's basically 3 months training and quantity. So if I wanted, so I'm just going to do this for demonstration purposes. So say, for example, I am training 30 delegates and each delegate is paying, we're charging them 550 Rand a delegate, right? So you can see now that Xero has automatically computed for me the 16,500. It's chosen my account, which is training income 102, because I have set that up when I set up my item to sell. And then my tax rate also pulls because the training income has no VAT. I'm going to now choose my project. So I'm going to take this to project C. And right, so now you can see that this invoice is totaling to 16,500 Rand. So if I wanted, okay, I'm not going to do discount on this one. It might just complicate things, right? So now all I have to do is I can click save, right? And you'll see here, I've got these three options, right? So Xero is asking me what do I want to do? Do I want to save this invoice as a draft? So if I click on save as draft, what will happen is that on the first of every month, so for the next 3 months, Xero will create the invoices and then it will appear in my drafts tab under invoices, right? And then I would then have to go in and mark it as approved and approve for sending. Okay. Now, I used to use it personally. I used to do this before, but then I found that, okay, I'm still going in and I'm looking at 30 invoices and then I'm approving and sending. So now I actually just use the option as approve for sending on mine, but you can actually use save as draft and then, or you can choose approve. If you click on approve, it won't send it through to the customer. So you'll still have to come in every month and email it through, right? So I'm going to click on approve for sending because I want it to be approved for sending. And I'm going to now click on save. Okay. And then it comes up with a message, right? So remember, because Xero is emailing through your invoices through to your customers, it's going to bring up, okay, so obviously that's the email address I set for this client or this customer. It's bringing up my repeating invoice, and this is a standard message. So we generally do not amend anything. And then I would say include PDF attachment. And then you then say done. So basically what it will do is that it will put in the person's first name. It will say which month the invoice is for, what is the invoice number. So all of this information will populate obviously from the details on the invoice itself. And then I click done. Okay. So now, if we now look at our view, right? So initially we had nothing under repeating. So now you can see that here's my repeating invoice, and it's telling me that, okay, my reference or my placeholder is going to be the month. How much am I invoicing for? How often is it repeating? When is the next invoice date? So you'll see the next invoice date will be on the 1st of November. What is the end date, which is the 31st of December? And then how will it be sent, right? So now if I go under awaiting payment, you'll see that I suddenly now have 3 invoices in there. And you can see that my original 2 invoices did not have any reference, whereas this new one that we created now for 16,500 has a reference. Okay, and that's how you would create a repeating invoice in Xero.